And I'd like to welcome Ashley Sears, who's our guest from Clackamas. Ashley, you are more than welcome to participate in this meeting. I hope that you will.
Thank you.
Great. What I'm going to do is start by sharing my screen. I think I can do that so that we can see let's see if I can find it. Yeah. Okay. So I have the survey alterations in a Word document so that we can play around with some of the wording. Ashley, our goal here is to come to consensus on and to address some of the issues that were brought up in the discussion that we had at the council meeting. And ultimately to be able to approve all of your requests. Okay, so it's not, we're not here to like grill you on this or anything. We just wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page. So the editing that I'm going to do is basically just for note taking. It's not going to be the final version of that. Okay.
Sure, sounds good.
Okay, great. Cool. Right. So let's see, the other document, I'm going to go ahead and, sorry, I should have had this open already. I'm going to open real quickly the final survey on my computer so that I've got that, if I can find it.
And Rowan, I did provide in my subsequent email to you an update to this proposal, having listened to the last recording.
Okay.
And it has some additional context if that's helpful. I can also drop that in the chat if you would like.
Yeah, would you drop that in the chat? And I apologize for not getting that. So
absolutely no problem at all. Just thinking about it.
Uh-huh.
If
I can find the.
Actually, not sure it's going to let me, but I can quickly send it to you via email.
Okay. Could you send it to, yeah, that's fine. And I'll go ahead and stop sharing real quickly so that I can open your document.
There you go.
Okay, great. Let me see if I've got it yet. It always takes a minute for stuff to come online. I am refreshing my mailbox. It'll come up in a minute, I'm sure. As we do this, Kevin, is it possible for you to, Ashley, are you able to share screen?
Let's see if it will let me.
Okay.
It looks like it will.
Okay, that way we can get started while whatever's happening at the, oh, there, wait
Sure.
a minute. Okay, I think I got it.
Oh, I will stop sharing then.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like I got it. Let me open it. Okay, there we go. All right, going back to sharing. Okay, and this is the current version, right? The one that I've got open.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay,
yep.
Awesome. Good. Okay, now we're all on the same page. Yay. Okay. All right. So instead of the optional question on page 3, do you take classes in person, online, or both? Display after question 134, show only to students who indicated that they had at least one misconduct experience. Our concern with this was that it would be difficult to compare groups of students, for you to compare groups of students who had experienced you wouldn't know if the experiences of students who didn't have, who you wouldn't know if students who were taking your classes online, in person, or both had different experiences of sexual misconduct.
Right. Yeah,
right?
so I did, yes, so I did hear that in the conversation from last time. So what we were trying to get at is less about the question that's currently there, which is asking what are you currently taking, and trying to understand what modalities students were taking when they did experience misconduct. So this isn't about comparing necessarily students who did or did not experience misconduct, but our community partner from Clackamas Women's Services had indicated that in their experience, a lot of folks that they're working with who are students in college are indicating that they are in online and remote classes much more frequently. So we're trying to understand if when students are experiencing misconduct events, if they are in person or not. And so that's and we do know based on because they're going to be indicating what month and year they did experience those misconduct events. We do have historical information on what percentage of students were engaged in each type of modality at those times. So that's what we would be comparing against, not those who said they didn't and those who said they did, more about is that population more likely to have been in those online or remote. We have 4 different modalities that we use. Um, and so kind of being able to look at this in 2 pieces. So one of the other questions that y'all had was, are these, this seems like really specific language. Are students going to understand what this is? These are the 4 modalities that we communicate to students about. This is in our system where students register. This is the exact language used, and it's also language we use in our student engagement surveys that go out twice a year. And one of the comments related to this was that are you going to have so few students who are in one of these modalities that you're not actually going to be able to aggregate and find anything meaningful? One thing that we do frequently is these 4 different methods, or excuse me, modalities, allow me to split data in 2 different ways. So having asynchronous versus asynchronous, and then also looking at if there is an in-person component or not an in-person component. And those vary by different modalities. So in-person classes, in-person classes who have a hybrid and also the remote, those are all synchronous versus the online, which is asynchronous. And then we have a different grouping for an in-person component or not. So those first 2 have an in-person component and the other 2 do not. So we're for based on our community partner and what she's seeing, that's why we were wanting to ask specifically of students who had experienced misconduct if they were more likely to be either asynchronous or not or have an in-person component or not while when that occurred to them.
Ian, go ahead. You don't need to raise your hand. Just chime in, unless
Okay.
we're all talking at once.
Okay. Thanks. Um, I I definitely see how that's helpful to distinguish that in order to get a sense of where they may have experienced this. I think some of the concerns from the group were also, as was stated before, more about the bottlenecking of that information to being after expressing that you have experienced misconduct. By getting this information earlier, you can still apply the of people that have selected that they experience misconduct, where are they more likely to be? But by asking this earlier, you get to look at the overall safety of those programs as well. So of people who are in-person classes versus of people who are taking online, what percentage are saying that they're experiencing X, Y, and Z, and you get I think the concern was that there might be a lack of that clarity if you wait to ask that until after the misconduct question.
Right, but the distinction between the 2 questions is that the one that is early is asking what modality students are currently in. And our students' modalities have changed drastically since before the pandemic. And then through the pandemic, and then till now, we've settled into, at least at our institution, a lot of students taking a combination of modalities, but we still have many fully online and many fully in person. So what we're asking is not what are you currently taking? We're asking what were you taking when misconduct occurred? So the way that the survey is now, it's only asking about what are you taking now?
I totally understand that. I definitely can see why you would want that question on the survey for your school specifically, and was wondering just if I could ask some follow-up questions of like how often do students change modalities from like in person to online or online to hybrid, and then like wondering if I'm so sorry. This is maybe just a question that I missed at the beginning, but would this be in addition to or replacing that question?
Yeah, so good question. So this would be a replacement to the optional question. So I guess technically this is a request for an addition of a new question, but we wouldn't be asking that other optional question. And then as far as how our students kind of change modalities, so obviously during the pandemic, everything went online, right? And before that, almost all of our students were completely in person. But since that time, we've watched everything kind of settle into thirds. So about a third of our students are taking some combination of in-person and online or remote, or they're taking a hybrid course. About a third are fully in person and about a third are fully online or remote. So it's really settled in, and it does vary also by program that they're in, but for the most part, it's about settled into thirds over the last about 2 years or so.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Thank you.
Question. Actually, this question, just in general, I have a question. I haven't looked at the survey in a while, since we completed it. Been kind of off and doing some other things, but I thought we controlled the time period. I thought it was for the current academic year, and then I thought we did talk about past, but I didn't know whether it was throughout your whole college experience.
Yes, the time period that we're asking in the survey about is since you enrolled at this school.
Since you enrolled in the school. So
Yeah,
then,
yeah.
so that means since you enrolled in the school, then, okay, I can see where this question would be. They would probably could check all, unless it could have applied to every type of, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, as someone who attended community college for 6 years or so, taking just a couple classes, working full time with a kid and all that, I could see, I think that time period is great. Ashley, my major concern here, and Dea, you might be able to speak to this too as a researcher, and Rain, you as well. If you don't ask the question at the beginning, you're not going to be able to compare the population of people who are answering the survey with your general population. So those could be two very different groups. You might have you might have you might have, say you have 70% taking in person, 30% taking online, but if the people who are answering the survey, if 50% of them are in person and 50% is online, that's going to skew your numbers. I don't have a problem with you using this particular question at the, and I think we said, yeah, after 134. I think though that it's going to be most useful to you to also keep the other optional question in so that you have a better description of the people who are answering the survey compared with your general population.
Sure, yeah, I can totally see that. And I can see the value of keeping the original optional question is on page 3, because they are asking two separate things. They are asking, what are you currently taking? And then what we're proposing is this other one of when you did have a misconduct event, what modalities were you in? So I do see the value of the two, but they are not directly comparable. But being able to see of the people who are responding to the survey and those who had misconduct events and those who didn't, what are they currently taking? Yes, that original question on page 3 would help us do that. Yeah, so I can take that back to our group is keeping the one on page 3. I think it would give us additional information, but this one is kind of trying to get at some different information about what were the modalities when the misconduct event occurred, and then based on the months and years that they're providing. I mean, hopefully we don't have very many people who say they did. Unfortunately, I'm sure we will. But being able to go back and say in those months and years, what was the typical modality dispersion? And then what is that comparing to based on these responses that they're saying in this question? So I like that keeping both if that's possible.
That's fine, as long as it doesn't lead to identifiability. Remember, we want to, the more they give about themselves, to like the place, time, event, you start thinking of being able to narrow down the class. the person, the teacher, the event, so
Right.
you want to keep things as general as possible, but still get some information. So as long as you don't narrow it down too much, that's my only concern.
That is definitely one of our concerns as well, especially with the um, amount of places in the survey where students can provide text responses and the amount that they could go in and describe more contextual information that would give us an idea who people were. So completely on the same page as you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think one of the concerns that we sort of broadly have, honestly, with the survey, and there's nothing we can really do about it, is we tell you only report the aggregated data, but how you use it internally, those are the ethical concerns that you're going to have to deal with. I think,
Right.
yeah, so I think Adea's point is really good, but if you've got some pretty strong data protections in place, yeah, hopefully that won't, you won't be like researching, okay, so who was this student?
Right.
Like, can we
Right.
figure out who they were, right? We really don't want you doing that. So, okay. Okay, so the recommendation is to keep the first optional question, allow the allow the addition of the second question after question 134. And because the code isn't on this one, I'm just going to go and check in the survey and make sure that we're talking about the same placement.
Yeah, let me pull that up as well, because I think you have an
Yeah.
updated version and I have a previous one. So let me grab that as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah,
another
there's
concern that, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, let me just, the
Yeah,
updated version is the one that is currently online. But Ashley, let me know. I think we've had this discussion
Yeah,
already.
we
So, yeah,
we
a
have.
couple of times. So if you can tell me what the text of the question is, that would be helpful. And while you're looking that up, sorry, Ian, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, another concern that came up was the legibility of this question and the ability to understand the use of the term modality. So we wanted to get a sense of if that was regular part of the verbiage that's used at your institution, because if that's something that most students, if not all students, would understand well, then that's great. But I think there was a concern about whether that's normal, everyday speak for your campus.
It is normal everyday speak. We use it in our registration system when students are selecting their courses. We do say we have a filter for modality and we have definitions written, and these are the exact definitions that are used
Great.
there. And then this is also used in our student engagement survey. So, and I haven't had any issue with this as we've been doing this, asking this very similar types of questions, or at least with these same exact response options twice a year since the pandemic. So I feel pretty confident our student population would understand this question modalities.
That's perfect. I think the question was really just if students haven't seen that word before used to describe their courses, will it be new? But that's great.
So, Rowan, I think I'm going to update it. Actually, it's not 134. I think in this version it is. There's a section 4 that says only for students that experience sexual misconduct, and then it goes into so it's after they were asked the questions about if they told someone at their school. So we're at like question 135, 136, 137. So like DRC, I think it's after DRC 11. And so
Okay.
they asked them, would you like to skip all questions about how sexual misconduct affected you and go to the next section of the survey? So it would be after that. So
Okay.
I think that's
So,
EXP skip.
okay. So after EXP skip and before EXP1.
Correct.
Okay. All right. And that's currently numbered 138. So, it's fine for you to go ahead and put that in. Don't worry about the number, but do assign a different code, whether that's EXP01 or EXP1A or something like that.
Yep.
Okay. So, okay,
Yep.
great. Thanks. And then also, Kevin, we'll need to make sure that we understand how to revise the survey report, or if we're going to need, we haven't talked about that yet. We'll make, I guess I'm asking you to make a note so that we can have a conversation about how to revise the survey report format so that we can make sure that the new question gets added in the correct place.
Yeah, I'll make a note for that.
Okay, thank you. That should be actually before. Oops, change this. Okay. Okay, any other comments on request number 1? Okay, so Ashley, you're going to go ahead and take our recommendation back that you keep the first optional question. It's okay to add the second question, and then you'll let us know if that's okay with your group.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, good. Great. Thank you. Okay, request number 2, update the optional language on page 3. Which of the following best describes you currently? You want to tailor the question language to narrow the focus to their goal at Clackamas and tailor the responses. We really liked this. We thought this made a lot of sense. So I think we were all okay with this one. Am I remembering that correctly, folks? Okay. So request number 2 is, approved as.
The only thing that I recall hearing was there was a concern from someone about I am taking classes for another reason and being able to have the free text, but that is actually part of the original or optional question.
Okay.
We just adjusted the ones above it.
Okay. And I think that the free text thing, I think, is something that we removed just because it made reporting really really difficult.
Okay.
But let me double check and see if that's. Yeah, we took it out of the current version. Okay.
Okay,
So
good. Okay, cool.
yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, so. Okay, so no changes recommended. Request. I'm just going to put approved, even though it's kind of a weird way of saying it. Okay. Recommended by council. Oops. There we go. Okay, and then the notes on requests 3 and 4. We would like to tailor these questions to our 3-campus institution and our campus's typical course-taking behavior. Which campus is their primary campus? And again, that was, I think, one of the things we wanted to be sure that students would understand what their primary campus was. Is that part of your normal lexicon?
No, but the way that we phrased it is in request 3 is on which campus do you take most of your classes? And then we wouldn't actually be asking them their primary campus. We would just be asking that instead. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And this is typical for our students. It is very, very common. They will only attend classes on one campus or one campus and online. And we did a master planning project, and that was also what we found there as well, and that there are some safety differences across our 3 campuses.
Okay. I think, again, I would recommend putting this one at the beginning, potentially either before or after the question about modalities.
Okay.
Because that way you will be able to compare the population of students taking the survey with your general population.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
Yes, and so we were taking the one that is on page 36. Let me see if I can find the number for you. Oh, the optional ones in the version I don't have a number, but they are after the ASA5, ASA6, like those questions. So there's an optional question there without a number, and that was the place we were essentially saying instead of we're talking about putting it in that same location where those optional questions were. So I believe these are asked of everybody, though, not of just students who have experienced sexual misconduct.
Okay, no, that's a really good point. Okay, so and I'm going to go ahead and share the survey with folks so that they can see what that looks like. Because I keep talking about it and I'm not, this might help, I think, for this one. Okay, so this is the section, and you're right, this is the section that all students are asked to take. And you want to put it in here. I feel safe before these. Are you going to ask these optional questions? Sorry, I forgot. Or,
So that's kind of like a follow-up to this first request is wanting to tailor those ones to whatever campus they said was their primary. Yeah.
right, okay. Okay, so that would be, so I feel safe during the day when I'm on, so this is what it looks like now, folks. I'm going to stop sharing and go back to the request. I apologize for the awkwardness of this, but I hope it's not too confusing for folks as I go zooming between things. Okay, so you want to put this between the optional safety or before the optional safety questions, and then that provides context for the changes that you're requesting to the optional questions.
Correct. So right before it asks, I feel safe during the day when I'm on campus, and I feel safe at nighttime when I'm on campus, which are two optional questions. We wanted to ask this first and then ask them only about one campus instead of, because then we won't know if we have an issue on a specific campus, if we don't identify which campus they're talking about.
So I think it would be challenging, probably not impossible. I'm not an expert on Qualtrics, but I think it would be challenging to create a tree that would divert people to a specific question with Oregon City campus. So if they answer Oregon City campus, they go to a question that says, I feel safe on the Oregon City campus.
Yep.
If they answer Harmony, they go to a question that says, I feel safe on the Harmony campus.
Yes.
I wonder if you could just say, on which campus do you take most of your classes? I feel safe during the day when I am on the campus where I take most of my classes. That might be a little bit easier. Reen, is that what you're gonna?
So we
Yeah.
could, but honestly, like I use Qualtrics very extensively, and this is not difficult for me to do at all, to embed whatever response. It is simple. So for our students, it would be helpful for us to be able to repeat the name of the campus, especially with this long survey and the amount of just mental load, cognitive load on trying to complete the survey and keeping track of what they're being asked about. It's very simple for me to put the name of the campus, whatever one they select.
Okay. Just thinking about reporting, remember you can't report cell sizes smaller than 5.
Yep.
So you would be specifically, so you're not asking, do you feel safe when you're on campus? You're saying, what if you attend most of your classes at this campus, do you feel safe on that specific campus?
Correct.
So you may not be able to report as much data out is I guess my concern.
Yeah, and actually that's fine with us. And the reason is because we have less students who are on our Harmony campus and Wilsonville campuses, but I don't want to say that we have an issue on campus if it is a specific campus. So if I'm able to look at the data and say, we have a huge issue, I'm just going to randomly just pick Wilsonville. If we have a huge issue at Wilsonville, I don't want to say, hey, we have an issue on campus and have people try to make changes at the Harmony campus where that's not the issue. So if I can look at it and say, maybe I can't report out at the aggregate because it's not 6, at least I can prevent myself from saying we have an issue, a safety issue on campus, because I will know which one it is.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that as a community college student, I get where you're coming from. I understand that you are, or what I hear is that you are wanting to have clarity about where people are experiencing violence or whatever. I just personally know that a lot of like if one class is offered only at the Wilsonville campus, but they're primary and they have to take that class, and so for one term they're at Wilsonville, I feel worried that their experience outside of that one term may not be reported because it's not their primary. So I get where you're coming from. I don't know the data.
It's so difficult because like it would be great to be able to ask them about each campus they go to, but then we're extending the survey. So that's something we debated internally. Yeah, so totally seeing the same issue as you.
And then I think the other question was just why use, we're curious about using the term light outside instead of during the day and dark outside instead of nighttime.
Right. So we have some students who start classes really early in the morning and it might still be dark. And, you know, throughout the calendar year, when it's dark when you get to school at 8, there is a huge difference on campus. And we have heard students talk about how there's not enough lighting in certain areas. So instead of just saying day and night, we thought that the intention of the question was really about it being light or dark. But maybe that's not the intention of the question. But when we were thinking about our students and our master planning work and our bond work and some lighting issues in different areas of campus, that the question we thought was really more about feeling like it's scary because it's dark and there's not enough light and I can't see around corners, and less about when someone might decide like, oh, it's nighttime or oh, it's daytime.
Totally makes sense.
That does make sense to me, especially if you've already noted that like lighting is potentially a concern. I do think that they are functionally different questions because night could also imply like fewer people present. So it could also be like, am I in a crowd versus am I all alone? But if like darkness and light is the thing that is at issue for y'all and a controllable thing, right? Because you can add more lights, then that might be a really beneficial question.
Thank you.
I like the light and dark, that's fine. It's just that only thing I'm a little hesitant about are the 3 questions together, because I'm just thinking it's just narrowing down too much. Where are you currently taking classes, where the harm mostly occurred, whether it was online, and then what campus do you currently take classes at? That just continually narrow. And I was just wondering, should you have all 3 together instead of a particular campus, just if they're having problems with on campus or on campus in general, then any kind of targeted intervention, it could just happen on campus, no matter which campus it is, just a blanket policy. Um, I just have just a little mild concern about going that specific with those 3 questions together.
Yeah, I can totally see that. And I want to definitely take the expertise of this group. If you all feel like we are narrowing it too much to potentially identify people. One of the other differences on our 3 campuses is that we have very different student populations on the different campuses. Our Wilsonville campus is drastically more male, and they're almost always there in the evening, and they're there taking apprenticeship programs. Our Harmony campus is almost all health sciences, ESOL and GED, and they're much more likely to be there in the evening as well. And then Oregon City is just hopping all day long. And it's really different. And that's more of our just like traditional lower division collegiate students are. But we also have a lot of CTE programs there. So the populations are really different as well. But if you all feel like we're narrowing it down too much, then we don't have to.
It's just my
Yeah.
opinion, because if I was a student and I'm giving my personal opinion of what happened to me, and you keep asking, identify, and it's getting a little bit more, I'm giving up about myself, that I'll start feeling like, okay, I'm giving up too much information
Yeah.
about myself. And to me, as a policymaker, I'd rather the person just tell me I have an issue on campus and some generic things, and tailor it to any kind of policy. Sexual harassment policy is not campus specific. It's a university specific policy. And
Right.
training should be a university specific policy, not campus specific. And saying, oh, we just have males or we just have females or we have this type and they're not going to experience. I mean, it's a policy. So I don't know. That's just my thing. But other people, I just think those 3 together just is too much. But I'm one person on this count. I don't know. On the thing,
I mean, yeah, to your point too, like all of the demographic questions at the end, we have a really white, more female population. And so if we have a student who says that they are American Indian or Alaska Native, we're down to a small handful of students already. And then we start asking these additional questions
Yeah.
just because our population is so white and also quite a bit Hispanic as well, but mostly very, very white. These other groups are already very, very tiny.
That is such a good point, and I think it could be addressed. I as a preventionist, I do see the value in being able to say, okay, so Wilsonville, everybody, we don't really need to spend as much time on this topic, but they don't know what to do if they are experiencing sexual misconduct. So we want to really amp up our education there, right? Like I could get that. I think, Ashley, we would ask that you are, if you're going to do something that could possibly make someone more identifiable, to be really clear in how you're going to handle that data and be very transparent with your students about how about what you're going about the fact that you are not intending to look at a specific data set, right? That you will not be attempting to identify anybody based off the responses. I think if you can make that really clear in the way that you're handling your data, that would help.
So would that mean we would need to, there's already a lot of information on the first page of the survey talking about anonymity, and would that mean that we would put in an additional request with you all with additional language we would want to put, or because it's not a question, we don't need to request that approval?
You don't need to request the approval. I'd be curious to see what you came up with if you did, because I think that I think that's what you're doing then is you're making a promise to your students that you're not going to attempt to identify them based off their individual responses to the survey.
Right. Yeah, we do have standard anonymity and separately confidentiality statements that we use for our surveys that describe who will see the raw data, usually specific roles and or groups, and who will see the aggregated data, and then what we're going to do with those results. So that would be, great that we could incorporate that.
Yeah, as long as that's really, really clear, and and also, maybe in your marketing materials, or if you do a Q&A for students in advance of the survey, those kinds of things, I think would be really helpful.
Sure, yeah, I'll make a note for our communications group.
Yeah, okay, great. Okay, all right. And then the question that you're asking about, and I'm just gonna pull that up real. So this is DRC2. Let me find that on survey. And what we've got, I'm going to go ahead and so you're asking to share it, to change it to, sorry, I've lost the, oh God. I need to get a bigger monitor. Okay, you want to rephrase it to what reasons prevented you from telling anyone about what happened? And the way we've got it currently is, why there are many reasons someone might not tell anyone they experienced sexual misconduct. They're all valid. We're interested in learning why you decided not to tell anyone. Why didn't you tell anyone about what happened?
So instead of saying, why didn't you tell anyone what happened, we want to rephrase that to what reasons prevented you from telling anyone about what happened?
No concerns about that? Nope. Okay.
No, I like it. It honestly just feels a little bit more gentle, and I like it. I like it.
Okay. All right.
Can I jump in real fast?
Yes.
So this is Caroline from Portland Community College. I agree, it sounds more gentle. The one thing I'll note though is using the term why instead of what reason prevented you is probably more plain language. So when we think about access, so I would just encourage us to take another moment to see if there's another way we could discuss making that gentle while also ensuring it's plain language.
That's a great catch. Thank you for that.
Lisa, I think I see a hand.
Yes, I agree. What if it was simplified to which of the is it a single answer only, or can they
There's multiple, they can answer, there's a lot of different responses for that one.
Which of these prevented you from telling anyone what happened? or which of these prevented you from telling anyone about what happened?
I put it as an alternate option. What barriers kept you from telling anyone about what happened? We use the word barriers a lot at our institution with our students.
I think that I mean, those are both really good alternatives. I don't know that either of them addresses the plain language question.
Yeah, I was just doing some quick readability checking, and they're definitely all a little bit more complex, which doesn't necessarily mean that they're not appropriate. But I do think that's the concern about readability there, particularly if we're thinking about the question and then the answer stems, making sure that that the full sentence that a person might select is kind of like legible and readable. They get a little complicated.
What kept you from telling anyone about what happened be more readable than prevented you from?
Yeah,
Or
I
even
think that's
just-
a good
I
alternative.
like that.
I was literally just thinking that exact sentence in my head as you said it out loud. That was like a freaky jinx moment.
Yeah, which of these, or which of the following kept you from?
The which of these and which of the following bumps up the readability challenge quite a bit, but what barriers kept you from telling anyone what happened goes below the 8th grade mark, which is like a good barometer.
If Martina, can you check what kept you from telling anyone about what happened?
Yeah, that drops it the lowest. That drops us down to like roughly in the 6th grade level.
We would be really happy with that one.
Okay.
I
I
like
think that's
that
a great
too.
revision.
Okay.
Yeah, barriers, even though it's below the 8th grade level, just I thinking about when I learned what barriers are, it was way after the 8th grade.
Okay.
Well, and if we think about translation as well, barriers is metaphorical. It makes a lot of sense if you speak English as your primary language, as your first language, but if we're translating in our head, that might be a different challenge. So kept you from is a little bit more simple.
I also think that's something that we should consider. We knew that the survey was going to be a work in progress. We knew that a lot of the really smart people at the schools and the students were going to come up with much better ways of saying things than we had thought of. And I honestly think this is one of those places where you did it. So I think what kept you from telling anyone about what happened is a better phrasing than the one we used originally. And maybe we should make that change in the next survey. So, okay. So Ashley, you're fine with that?
That would be great. Yeah. Thank you all for
Okay.
your help with it.
Sure. Okay. All right. That's it, folks. Any other comments on any of these? Does anyone want to review any of the things that we've been through?
No, I just wanted to say thank you, Ashley, for taking the time to be here today. I know that the getting in the weeds of the wordsmithing and stuff definitely is an interesting way to spend a Thursday morning. So I appreciate you for bringing this to us. And like, there are things that I had never thought about before. Like, yeah, students are taking classes at 6 a.m. I was not one of those students, but yeah, the light and dark out, like that's another thing that maybe we should think about for the next survey. So yeah, I know it was probably tough showing up in a room of 13 people who all have thoughts and feelings about these things you've been working on. So just thank you for being here.
Yeah, no, thank you. And thank you to Rowan for the invite. This was very helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that you really helped the council think through a lot of this stuff. You helped us learn stuff, and we hope that you'll take back our thanks and appreciation to the folks that you work with on campus. I also want to say that I love that you're not making any decisions. You're like, I have to run this past my people first. I just love that.
Yeah, we have a whole subgroup working on just the question phrasing and all of these changes. Yeah.
That's awesome. Great. Okay. All right. Any last comments, folks? Or Okay, all right. Okay, give you the rest of your day back then. Thank you so much for being here.